Hi class. So I've noticed that many of you are looking at your Clifton strengths, and I think that's a phenomenal idea to kind of use that as a characteristic of how we're answering this discussion board. So I've also done the same. And in the process of kind of doing the research for this discussion board, I've found quite a few things that are interesting on my own individual and group leadership skills. So definitely there are different behaviors that I have when I'm working alone versus when I'm working in a group assignment. I will say that I do prefer to complete assignments by myself, but that is because I am such a perfectionist and I like things done a certain way, and I'm typically pretty confident in my ability to get those things done. Obviously, if it's in a topic that I'm not familiar with or comfortable with, I am likely to prefer to want to work in a group. So my first characteristic is realtor, and that's definitely one of my qualities of being an empathetic leader. I definitely value people's feelings. I do tend to be a people pleaser. That can be positive and negative in some situations, but I definitely and consistently look at people's feelings. Additionally, I look at what makes them happy, what makes them scared, what they enjoy doing, what they don't enjoy doing, because I never want to put one of my staff in a situation where they're not confident in their ability to complete a task. So whether they just need more training or if it's just something that's truly out of their comfort zone, I will do everything I can to not make them uncomfortable. So individually, I am very good with networking and building relationships. That's actually a big part of my job right now, is as information and referral for soldiers and their families. We have to connect with all sorts of different agencies, primarily nonprofit ones or agencies that have TRICARE so that service members don't have to worry about paying for the cost of services. So I'm constantly working on building relationships. And then things are typically the same each day. It's always new clients, but it's kind of the same pattern. But as things do change, I also consider one of my leadership styles as an individual to be very adaptable. When it comes to the group aspect of things, I do pride myself on being able to build a cohesive team. One of the things that hopefully most of you have heard of Simon Sinek. If you haven't, he's an amazing keynote speaker, if you will. And he, in one of his TED Talks, he had mentioned that he would rather bring a person on board without any of the skills to fit that position, but the person is very kind and compassionate and easy to get along with, and so he can train them, versus bringing someone on board who has all of the skills to do the job, but is complicated to work with. And so I kind of work off of that same concept, though a lot of our positions do require some type of bachelor's degree, sometimes master's degrees, or hefty experience. Now my second strength is an achiever. Individually, I'm very goal-oriented and also persistent in getting tasks done. Sometimes I do think I might have imposter syndrome because I am such a high achiever. When it comes to group leadership skills, I tie that into being able to motivate others. I recognize that being a good leader, you have to be able to motivate others, inspire others to also want to achieve. One of my actual goals this year is to not only focus on my own goals and development, but to also focus on the staff within my program, because I know they also have things that they want to achieve. My next strength is discipline. That kind of ties back into being an achiever. I actually have the word discipline at the bottom of my monitor at work right now because one of my previous supervisors, who was incredible, she was actually a bodybuilder as well. I asked her one time, how do you stay so motivated to stay so fit? And she said, it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. And so that word has always stuck in my head. I use that for my New Year's resolutions as well as what I do at work. Individually, I think in order for me to be disciplined in what I do, I have to be very strategic about the plans and our operations. I'm very organized, and so when there is not organization or plans, I do typically feel maybe overwhelmed or possibly underwhelmed. So I try my best to always keep things structured. In the groups aspect of that leadership skill, I definitely set standards for the staff. It's important to understand what the rules are, to follow the rules. Yes, of course, there's always flexibility. Well, not always, but there's often flexibility for those rules and standards. But I think that's part of helping staff to succeed, is having a clear set of guidelines on what their expectations are. The next one is consistency. So as I mentioned earlier, my job is pretty consistent on what the tasks look like. Now, because we do have different clients on most days that come through, things can look a little bit different, but we are pretty consistent in our patterns of work assignments. And so with that being said, I think I definitely have an individual skill of being reliable because I am a high achiever, very disciplined and goal oriented. I think I'm very reliable because I know what to expect when I come to work, and I love what I do. On the group aspect of that, I think it's very important to not only have established standards for the group environment, but to also have an equal environment. One of the most important things I focus on is whether an employee is a GS7, is a GS9, a GS11, etc. If it's a group project, then we all get to put our input in. Yes, we may have different levels of education and expertise, but I always want everyone to feel like they are equal and can contribute their skills, that they're just as valuable as other higher ranking employees. The last one I have is maximizer. I do feel like this one kind of also ties back into the imposter syndrome, where I always want to go above and beyond. I tell a lot of the staff during your annuals, if you want to meet the standards, that's fine, that's acceptable. But if you want to receive a higher review, a higher rating, these are some examples of what you can do to exceed those standards. And so that's definitely one thing that I'm always asking my supervisor is, what are some things that she would like to see from me that would be considered above and beyond? Additionally, I do feel sometimes I do go too far with that. I think because I do have such high standards for myself, sometimes I can question whether or not I'm doing enough. And so I do kind of lean towards my supervisor to get just every once in a while that feedback from her, like, hey, am I doing everything like you would like? Do you want to see more? And she always reassures me that I'm doing fine, I'm doing great, and if there was change that she wanted, that she would definitely let me know. So individually, definitely, I do focus on quality over quantity. And this is the number one thing that I was kind of excited to research, because it actually ties back into my capstone focus. The project that I'm working on is turning qualitative data into quantitative. A lot of the services that we do is considered qualitative, and so it's a lot about emotions of service members, and how they start out with certain life stressors, and as they get those life stressors resolved with the help of us, their life begins to feel more functional. And so typically we get that feedback through testimonials, what we call ICE comments, so they can submit compliments. And what we're seeing now is the leadership, whether active duty chain of command or even the DA civilian side, They want to see numbers, they want to see charts, they want to see bar graphs, they want to see that quantitative data, how our program is successful. And so that's, with the previous class, that was the primary focus of my research. And lastly, the group one for the maximizer is group excellence. I truly believe that it's a we and not a me. I am definitely one of those program managers that make sure that the team feels appreciated, especially when it was a group effort. I know there are some program managers or supervisors that can lean towards taking the credit when there was something great that happened versus pushing something off to their employees if it wasn't great. So I'm always about being a we. And yeah, so that's all I have for the post. If you have questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you so much.